What would you say is driving your clients' demand? What's driving them to mobile?
One, it's where consumers are. The amount of consumption and adoption of mobile is outpacing even the most aggressive projections. And the other thing is just the performance. I mean, we're seeing 10 times the click-through rate or metrics that were on mobile and some of the rich media stuff that we're doing than we are on the web. And probably the last thing is just mobile has become a New York Times and Wall Street Journal topic of interest, and a lot of the executive people who may not have even been as involved in the web are now reading about it every day and sort of demanding it from the top down.
And Michael, are you seeing the same thing with your clients?
Sure, absolutely. I think that's where consumers are spending their time. That's where they're placing their attention, and it's still a relatively uncluttered environment. So again, to echo what Paul's saying, we're seeing the engagement rates within mobile being very, very high. So if you have your audience, we've approached scale. We're approaching the scale of television within the mobile channel, and if we can do that in a cost-effective means that's producing very high engagement, that's getting a lot of clients' attention. That's getting the dollars to start to shift over.
And Mark, when your clients are looking at mobile, they're looking at what? What do you consider a mobile buy?
I think it's search. I think it's display. It's rich media. It's in-app. It's all of those things. The problem is that while it's all of those things, to just assume that mobile is a good mobile execution is just a replication of what you're doing already digitally, I think is a pitfall that lots of companies are falling into. So before we even talk about media buys with our clients, we have to architect a complete mobile strategy. I mean, it's amazing to me that still so many big brands rely on a publisher to develop a mobile splash page. I think that, I mean, if you entrusted a WeatherBug, for instance, to build your corporate website, that's kind of what's happening to a lesser degree, but still happening in the mobile world, and that needs to change before we can really get into full-scale media buys like we want to.
Simon, you probably have an opinion about that in terms of who's creating the mobile creative and what's driving it from that end.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we look at it is we don't look at it as a silo. We don't look at it as just mobile. We are in the business of creating the world's most compelling commercial content and content that goes across the whole of the ecosystem, across all screens. So what we are really tasked with and what we're trying to drive and institutionalize into our clients is to understand the behaviors of each one of these screens. So understanding how people are interacting with mobile, with TV, with now the iPads, with all the different screens that are out there. So it's really getting a deeper understanding. So one of the things that we just conducted globally was a research study with Microsoft. And it was really interesting through asking some pivotal questions on what people actually do with their mobile phone. So I'll just share with you, because some of it's quite funny. One of the questions we asked is, what is the first thing you do in the morning when you wake up? What is the first thing that you touch in the morning? And we asked the question, is it your mobile phone? Is it yourself? Or is it your lover? Now, what was interesting, we asked this question globally, and 88% of every single across China, Russia, India, Europe, and the US, what was the answer? Your mobile phone. Your mobile phone, and we put an archetype around it. The mobile phone is actually like your lover. And it's true. It's the first thing you basically touch in the morning. We were just discussing it backstage. Sometimes you even wake up in the middle of the night just to make sure it's there. And also, it's the first thing that it's one of those only things you actually take to the toilet with you. How many of you have found yourself checking stuff? So now, if you think about that behavior and you think about that tool, it's always on you, and it's like your lover, you've got to think about then how you develop the right content to then apply that to the archetype of it being a lover. So that's what we're trying to make sure that we're institutionalizing into our clients' thoughts when they're setting strategies, when they're setting investments, is understand the user behavior of the different channels and how they interlink and how people are actually using them.